Hi, everyone. It's Tessa.
And Joe.
From the Unveiling Paradise podcast.
Tessa, summer is almost here, and so many of our listeners are about to have their epic destination wedding.
And we are so excited for you guys.
Before the big day, guys, we want you to make sure you listen to these 3 episodes.
Episode 62, Deep Diving Your Wedding Ceremony.
Episode 53, Questions Your Wedding Guests Will Ask.
And episode 31, The Final Countdown to Your Wedding Day.
And if you're planning your wedding here in Hawaii, hit us up and ask us about our Unveiling Paradise podcast promo.
Happy planning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very final episode of Season 5. Hi, Tessa.
Hi, Joe. I'm so excited.
We're done? With Season 5.
With Season 5, yes.
Yes. Okay, so Season 5. So how did the season work out for you? What do you think? Was it a good one?
Oh, I thought it was so fun. You know, we brought in some couples. I think that was my favorite thing, is just being able to talk to these couples. It was so fun.
And we had some actually really great interviews, too. I thought that was kind of a highlight, some of the really great interviews.
So what you're telling me is the ones that were the best were the ones with people other than me. That's what I'm hearing.
It's not true.
I was going to say I felt the same.
Okay, fine. It is true.
I think it's so nice to have guests. It brings a different dimension. It brings a different point of view. If people are getting tired of listening to us, which you can't be, it's nice having a different point of view.
Well, for all of our loyal listeners, you're still with us and you love hearing our voices. You love hearing our stories. We like to always close our season with your question and answers. So we do get a ton of great questions as we're recording. And I think this is like one of my favorite episodes, is just to kind of like, this is for you guys. This is the answers to your questions. So we have a handful of your guys' questions, and we're going to give it a good old college try to like give you the right answers that will help you for your wedding planning.
I can't wait. So let's get started. Welcome to Unveiling Paradise, your go-to destination wedding podcast. I'm Tessa, wedding planner and owner of Fred & Kate Events.
And I'm Joe, wedding and adventure photographer of Joseph Esser Photography. We are based in Hawaii, one of the biggest, most popular locations for destination weddings.
We want to share our real-life experiences with you, give you insight from a professional's perspective, and still make sure you're having fun in the process.
We're huge believers in the fact that planning a destination wedding can be one of the most amazing experiences, and we want to bring you along.
We're so excited to talk with you about weddings, Hawaii, and everything else under the sun.
So pack your bags and let's get started. All right, welcome back, guys. So Tessa, we have a handful of questions. How do you want to play this? Do you want to answer and then I follow up, or do you want to just take turns answering, or
is this a quiz?
Or is it a quiz?
I don't know if there's necessarily right or wrong answers, so unfortunately, I'm going to say no quiz.
So none of these are true and false.
I guess.
But I'm going to use true and false for my answers.
So am I. So these are real questions. I think maybe let's just take turns answering them.
Okay. And if I have anything awesome to add, or you have something awesome to add.
I always have something awesome to add.
Okay, then we'll jump in. Okay, but let's get started. Okay, so question number 1. I'm going to ask this one to you.
Yay.
And then you can tell me your answer.
Perfect.
I'm going to say true. Already.
I say false.
Okay, question 1. How far in advance can we start planning? And is there such a thing as too far in advance? Is there ever too little of time to plan? Planning your wedding, obviously.
Thanks for the clarification.
It's true.
False. Okay, this is a good question. So the first part is, how far in advance can we start planning? Is there such a thing as too far? So what's funny is I have a couple, they were actually going to get married in May of next year, 2025. They decided for budget reasons, they wanted to push it to 2026.
Okay.
So when we started together, they're about 2 years and 3 months before their wedding.
So they're doing that just to save money for the wedding, or like
Correct.
What's the point? Okay.
Correct. So they want to save money. So again, they have started planning. They have started budgeting. We are so far in advance that a lot of their venues, a lot of the vendors won't book that far in advance. Mm-hmm. So they are in kind of a very, very preliminary planning stage. They can start getting their vision, getting their idea, getting general idea of budget, but a lot of people will not quote 2 years in advance because things could change, right? Will prices change? Will things change? So Normally, the average is about 12 to 18 months when people start planning their weddings. That's average.
So how far can they book you? Do you have any time constraints?
So here's the funny thing is, about a year and a half or two is pretty typical. They actually booked me for 2025 and then changed it before they signed, and I didn't catch it. So, which is great, So I have a 2026 couple. We have a 2-year lead. I would say 2 years is probably the most in advance that I would plan a wedding.
And I think the other thing that you mentioned too is I think the biggest sticking point for a lot of couples is a lot of the venues are the big holdup, right? So you can't book a venue a year before or 2 years or whatever. There's different restrictions on how far the venue is going to be available, which means the date's going to be available, which means like you can plan from that.
Exactly. And that's probably one of the biggest things. So when they work with us in advance, it's okay, we're going to wait to find out when your venue is available, reach out to them, and from there, we can book the other vendors. Out of curiosity, Joe, how far in advance do you book?
Oh, I have no restrictions. You want to book me in 2029? I'll do it.
Good to know.
But again, like I won't book a wedding without a date. And usually to have a date, you have to have the venue. So, I mean, again, it's...
Could they have a makeup date January 10th, 2029, and then they change it once they book it?
That might be tricky because like I might turn down a bunch of,
2029 couples.
Yeah. Again, like you don't want to lock in your vendors unless you're 100% certain that that date is confirmed. If you're thinking about multiple dates, then talk to that vendor about putting soft holds on those until they make those decisions. I think we get a lot of inquiries way out where it's like, we're looking at the month of August, and so what dates are you available? Can we put a soft hold on this until the venue says, it's 100% confirmed? Well, that was a great start. The answer is true. I mean, right.
And then to go to the next part, I didn't get to answer part B. Is there ever too little time to plan? And I think it's such a tricky question because a lot of people are like, hey, I'm planning my wedding 6 months out. Is there enough time? Or I'm planning my wedding 3 months out. Is there enough time to plan? My answer to that is always, if you're willing and you're brave enough, we can do it. It requires a lot of fast decisions. So if you are indecisive, if you're unsure of your budget, if you're unsure of your guest list, you're not going to have the time to do it. You have to send invitations, whether it be by email or mail or calling them. You need people to come. If it's a destination wedding, are you okay with the fact that they may be purchasing tickets last minute and it might be pricier? If you are okay with all of those factors, we can plan it in a month. We can plan it in 2 months, whatever it takes. But you just have to move quicker than if you were planning it over the course of a year.
My answer to that is false. I don't think that's correct, Tessa. You know why? Because
why?
I think there is, you're saying 1 to 2 months. I think some weddings, you just can't pull it off the night before. Say, for example, food. You have to pre-order food. Your floral, you have to pre-order that. So I think there is, and I don't know what it is. I think a week. Could you do it in a week? I mean, you could probably do it in a week, but...
Are you challenging me?
A day.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
But I don't think couples would want to do it a day before. A lot of it will then be, if you're saying you want to do it a month before, you may limit your options. You may have to go to more of a hotel than an outdoor venue. Like you said, the catering, a lot of facilities with in-house dining will have the ability to get that food at a last minute versus a caterer who doesn't have a kitchen, who doesn't have the food all the time.
Right.
They have in-house florist. And if they're setting up their own decor pieces, they may be able to pull from that to create your florals. So again, if they already have the tools and resources and they're just adjusting, it often is a lot more doable in a shorter time frame than you would starting from scratch somewhere else.
You're just going to have to settle with what's available, not being able to do all those custom things.
You get what you get.
And you don't have a fit.
It's not it. It's that you don't get upset.
And you don't have a fit.
False.
Okay, let's move into the second question.
Yes. Okay. The next question from our listeners is, can you share some advice for blended families and how to approach the ceremony? So for example, again, this is what our listener had said, they have a dad and a stepdad. We've also done weddings together where there are adult children, elderly parents. Like, how do you incorporate everyone into your wedding?
Okay, so my response to that is to have a conversation with you and your partner about a whole range full of things. What is the dynamics of your particular family? So if you have a blended family, you have a dad and a stepdad, do they get along? If they do, awesome. Like we can do a lot of things. Do they not? Okay, awesome. Like we can figure out how to do, like in terms of like photos and things, we'll just do some different combinations, right? And I think the question is also about how do you incorporate those blended families into the ceremony, right? I think one of the cutest things that I just saw was during the ceremony, a lot of times the couple will exchange leis. What I think is really cute is when like the couple, maybe it's their second marriage, they have kids from previous relationships, they will honor those kids and they will bring them into this new blended family by giving leis to each other. I think that's really cute. I think it's really special when the couple acknowledges that during the ceremony and talks about that and with their new families and their new kids. I think that's really sweet. How would you answer that, Tessa?
Yeah, no, I like what you said. And I've definitely seen it. I think it was the same wedding that we did where the couple, it was their second marriage. Both of them had adult children and they gave leis to the opposite kids. So the bride gave leis to her new husband's kids and he gave leis to her children. Again, they worked really hard on creating this family. In addition to that, what they did, which I loved, is they paired up and they walked together. So one of the sons from his side and one of the sons from her side walked in together as partners. And her oldest son, so again, when it's your second marriage, when you're a little older, if your parents aren't able to attend the wedding, her oldest son walked her in. And I thought that was really nice. So he actually gave her away to her new husband.
Yeah, that's really sweet.
When families are blended like this, again, you have older kids that maybe you want them to walk you in and you don't want, say, your dad, your mom, your stepdad, you don't want them to walk you in. But what I've seen recently that I really like is you'll have your children walk your parents in. So you can choose to either walk by yourself or walk with one of your other children, right? It doesn't have to be one set way. It's what feels right for you and your family.
I think sometimes if a couple has kids and they're younger, I'm going to say like maybe like that, I don't know, 6 to 10-year-old range. I think it's really emotional for these children at the ceremony. And I think that's something that prepare for, right? There's big changes happening, you know, if they're at that age. I think with the older, like adult children, that's a different experience than for some of the younger children. So if you have children from a previous relationship, but you're marrying somebody else, that it's a pretty big life change for them as well.
Agree.
Okay, next question. Moving along.
Okay, you asked me something now.
All right. This one's a great one. I like this one. You get this one.
Thank you.
Do you have any suggestions for local, made in Hawaii, welcome bag treats or favors?
Oh, I have so many. Where do I start?
All right, what you got?
So whenever we're having favors or welcome bags, I always try to support local. And there are so many great local vendors. So foods, snacks. I always tell people, if you're doing a favor, for example, keep it simple. Food is always the easiest because they can eat it immediately. You're not asking them to pack something back in their suitcases and take home with them. And we've talked about this before. But there are a ton of great local cookie companies. There's Big Island Candies. There is Honolulu Cookie Company. Like there's a ton of different cookie places. The cookies are made locally here. They're individually packed and they have a lot of tropical flavors. You know, they have like the pineapple, the guava, they have mango, right? So again, it's kind of a nice way of bringing it in. They also have candies. So you have like these little Maui fruit jellies. You have chocolates if it's not too hot or if you're indoors. Again, locally made, the coffee bags, the little coffee beans are also a great one. If you know that your guests are coffee connoisseurs, the one thing that I warn is if you buy coffee beans for people, like for me, I have an espresso. I don't use coffee beans. I'm not that fancy. I don't know what to do with this, right? So find a gift that's practical that your guest will use. And again, local. I love using cookies, candies. Even if you were to do, which I've seen in the past, is in Hawaii, we have these really fun Hawaiian Sun tropical drinks. So guava, pog, lilikoi, whatnot. Like having that as a favor, I think is super cute too. Again, you take it back to your hotel room, chill it overnight, and you just drink it and you're done with it.
I think it's funny that you said that about coffee too, because, you know, obviously Hawaii is known for Kona coffee, right? Our 100% Kona coffee is like some of the best coffee on the planet, but not many people have coffee machines anymore. So it can be a really awkward.
Well, that's why I said be careful with the coffee.
Yeah. No, I like that. I
love coffee.
You missed my favorite local treat.
What is
Noms. Noms are these.
Shout out to Noms.
Yeah. So Noms are like, they have this kind of like lemon peel.
My mouth
like
is watering.
Lee Hing powder that they put on all your favorite like gummy
sour
snacks.
candies.
Sour Patch Kids, gummy bears, all that good stuff. And I see those a lot. And that's like, for me, I'm like, please let there be lots of leftovers because I'm going to be happy.
Guys, for Christmas, Joe got me some for Christmas, and honestly, one of my best presents ever. I love Noms.
You barely got it. I was going to keep it.
It was like a month late. So shout out to Noms. They're so good. Okay, my question to you. When we look for vendors, is it more important to look at their actual work or their shining personalities?
I knew it. Roll through. Okay, that's really interesting because I think I have a shiny personality and an amazing portfolio.
False. To the personality, amazing portfolio, not arguing with that, but personality is like B.
Can we just agree that it
False.
should be both? I think it's both. Like, I think that's the truth statement is like, you want to find that vendor that their work, you fall in love with their work, you enjoy them being in your bubble. Because, you know, again, like we're involved throughout, you know, a huge part of your day. For coordination, same thing. You guys are involved a year out, 2 years out with a couple. Like you want to be able to make sure that you fit with their personality, but also that you really enjoy what type of work they're doing. Now, for other vendors, and we actually talked about this recently. So whoever sent the question in, you guys weren't paying attention.
Did we publish that episode yet? Maybe we didn't.
That there are some vendors, personality makes zero difference. You're setting up the tents, nobody cares. The back of the house, kitchen staff, nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
You're efficient, have a shiny personality.
Or at least a personality to match with what you want.
Right.
I like what you said about being in their bubble, because it's true. You have to like their work. But again, if they're in your bubble all day, you have to like them too. I think that's so important.
Okay, next question.
Yes.
What is the difference between a catering manager, a wedding planner, and day of coordinator? I know we kind of talked about this in a previous episode, but let's just re-answer that question for everyone.
I love that. And we will definitely put the link to our episode in our show notes as well. But to give everybody a high level, your catering manager is someone who is on site that works at the property that you're getting married at. So most times a catering manager will refer to someone who works at a hotel, and they're in charge of the food and beverage and anything that comes through the venue. So they are charging you for the venue space. They're charging you for the food and beverage. They're going to help curate your menu, your bar, everything that comes through the hotel. With them, they will often work with a wedding planner or day of coordinator. And a lot of hotels in Hawaii actually require you to have a wedding planner because the catering manager's job is not to run your rehearsal. It's not to line up your wedding party when you're about to get married. It's not to check in to make sure your hair and makeup is starting on time. They're there high level to make sure that your food and beverage is set, the banquet staff is there when they need to be. They're there to manage the operations of the hotel. Anything that the hotel touches falls through them. Your wedding planner or your day of coordinator is there to manage everything else, including that. And the difference between a wedding planner and a day of coordinator is your planner starts a lot earlier. They will often help with vendor bookings, your design, your layout, whatnot. Your day of coordinator is there to execute. So confirm the vendors, confirm the timeline, and be there from start to finish. Your wedding planner is often also your day of coordinator. The day of coordinator is not always your wedding planner.
Wait, hold on. That kind of confused me. Your wedding planner is your day of coordinator, but your day of coordinator is not. Why say that again?
Okay, so I felt like this was a really great
It was good, but it kind of really confused me.
Your wedding planner, when you book your wedding planner, because you will often book your planner a year out or a year and a half or 6 months, they will often then transition to be your day of coordinator, right? So your wedding planner is also your day of coordinator.
But your day of coordinator isn't always your wedding planner.
Correct.
Because that,
sometimes it's you.
Yeah.
If you choose to not hire a wedding planner, you're the one that's booking vendors. You're the one that is confirming, negotiating prices, doing all the things that a planner would do, but you'll still hire a day of coordinator. If you hire a wedding planner, their team will then transition to be your day of coordinator as well.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'm throwing it back to you. And again, this is something that we've answered in the past in a previous episode, but we've gotten this question again, and it's a big one. So I'm going to ask you your thought. There is a right answer. So this is a true or false test. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. First look, yes or no. So first, I want you to tell everybody what the first look is, just in case they didn't listen to that episode.
Okay, first look. First look is basically, instead of at the ceremony site when you see each other traditionally, it's having that happen before the ceremony. And a lot of times the whole point of it is to have time with your photographer to do all your pictures before the ceremony. So afterwards you can pop into your cocktail hour. Now, here's an interesting thing. I think in the previous episode that we record about, do you do a first look or not? I think I was like, kind of like wishy-washy, flippy-floppy.
You were wishy-washy, flippy-floppy.
But I think that it is a yes. It's a hard yes for me all the time, unless you have some super big objections to it. It always allows us to have more time with our couple, real time with our couple that's not stressful. You're not, trying to rush through all your photos that you might have to do after the ceremony. And you get to be present. You get to be present after the ceremony with all your guests. You get to give all those hugs and move into your cocktail and all of that. So I would say, yes, I think it's becoming more of a non-negotiable. I think it's so important. Just do it.
Okay, so here's something interesting. I was not wishy-washy, flippy-floppy. I was like, yes, do it. Now, my answer is a little more maybe.
Oh, you flippy-floppy now?
I'm flippy-floppy, and let me tell you why. What I have seen recently is a lot of couples are choosing to get married at a church earlier in the day. There's a long break, and then they're doing the reception somewhere else. So with that said, we're already starting their ceremony 11, 12 o'clock. We don't need to do a first look. You have 5 hours between that. If you really don't want to do the first look, we can skip it. We can do all the time for wedding party, family, portraits. They can go somewhere else. And then we go into the reception and they still have time for cocktail hour. They still have time for sunset. We added that space. And so I have flippity flopped to a hard maybe.
Oh man. So I'm going to have to flippity flop back too.
No. You only get one answer.
Because there are
right.
exceptions.
Just say that I'm right.
Big asterisk in my yes says there are exceptions. Like if it doesn't make sense, don't do it. And that's a scenario where it wouldn't make sense. Don't do it just to do it. That doesn't make any sense at all. So
I was right.
But I think for most weddings, it really makes for a much more enjoyable day for our couples. Okay, Tessa, you get this question. It actually should be for me, but I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
And then maybe you want to hear what I have to say. Probably not.
We'll find out.
I'm hiring a photographer and a videographer. Will a content creator get in their way?
Ooh, good question. Thanks for asking.
So content creator, meaning this is a new trend that's kind of been popping up the last couple of years where it's somebody who's just on an iPhone recording like BTS and just, kind of document it like a guest would, but they're paid to do it.
I like this question because I get this a lot. A lot of couples with limited budgets are figuring out photo, video, content creation. What are their must-haves? If they have one, do they have to have the other? And so a lot of times I'm hearing it's, do I want a content creator or a videographer? And I think for me, the answer is yes, they can all get along. I don't think a content creator gets in the way. I think it's important though, because you have this, what I like to kind of call a media team. You want to communicate with all of them, the timeline, the plan. And just like you would with your photographer, there's some photographers where would do a first look and I know they want 45 minutes. They want that entire 45 minutes for photos. Video too, if the content creator is trying to do something special like a TikTok trend, or if the videographer is trying to do interviews with a couple, we just need to make sure we have that information to add into the timeline. So again, all of your media team, as long as they communicate, can all work together really seamlessly. What do you think?
I say they get in the way. No, I'm kidding. They do actually.
You're in trouble.
Listen, they do sometimes. But I think it's like with any other vendor. Content creators are this brand new category, and a lot of photographers and videographers are now having to share that space. Of course, we can share the space. Of course, we have to figure out how to work with them. But I think what happens more often than not is, and this is actually, I think, a recent experience of mine, is the content creators are so brand new to the market that they don't know that they're supposed to work together. They're supposed to collaborate. They're supposed to share that space. They're supposed to be, not in each other's shots. Photo and video, we know not to get in front of each other's cameras.
Most of them know.
Yeah, but not all content creators know that. So we had a wedding recently with someone we had never worked with before, and she went right in front of all of our cameras. We had 2 photographers and 2 videographers, and there's no way to film what we were supposed to be filming because she was literally right up on them. For me, that was a conversation we had to have after that moment where we're like, hey, let's all work together. If you're in our shot, you're ruining the photo and video for the couple. We don't want to get in your shots either. How do we make sure we're communicating what's important, what's not? But again, like we had Iniki from Le Aloha. She is phenomenal. I think she knows the song and dance. She knows where to be. And, you know, we're shooting side by side and she's getting great, great content. So again, like, yeah, you're right. Communication. And I actually really love what a lot of the content creators are doing over here.
Okay. My question to you. This is a fun one because I feel like I know our answers from the last time we answered this. Mm-hmm. Has it changed? Okay. Should I have kids at my wedding? And I still get this question all the time. Should I have kids at my wedding?
So easy. Okay, first off, who are the kids? Let's vet the kids first. If it's a snotty little like brat child.
What if it's your kid?
What
if your kid is the snotty little brat? Like, yes or no?
It's not Valentina. I love you, babe. But I mean, again, like, what are we talking about? This is a really broad question. Are we talking about infants? You know, is mom a bridesmaid? Do they need to have their child? Is childcare available? Do you have a family that has mostly kids and you're going to alienate everyone? Do you have mostly a single child-free friends? You know, I think these are all like things to like put in the blender and, you know, hit the button and see what comes up. Stepping back again, you and I have been at weddings where some of those kids just make everything stressful. All the like that noise.
Yeah.
In the middle of the ceremony. You're like, oh God, I'm like,
is it a
somebody
baby?
kick
is
this
it
kid?
Joe who's crying?
You know, so again, like, I'm not even sure what my answer was and when we recorded the kid-free wedding, yay or nay, but I think that decision 100% has to do with what is the makeup of your entire wedding going to look like, with or without them?
I agree with you. I think my answer is just as vague as you, where I have seen some weddings with a ton of kids and the vibe was just that. It was playful. It was fun. They wanted it very family oriented, right? They had kids of their own. They had their cousins and nieces and nephews, and that's what they wanted. On the flip side, I've been to some very formal weddings and they brought kids and it very much changed the mood and the couple was not pleased. So understanding the vibe of your wedding, what does it look like? What is the compilation of your guests? I think that will make a difference.
So I hate saying this word as someone of my age, but I think it always comes out of my mouth really awkward, but ratchet, right?
You should never say that word again.
But if you're planning on having like a ratchet wedding, whatever, ratchet guest, ratchet party, right? Whatever. And you know what I'm talking about. You guys, when you hear the word, you're like, oh, I know what you're talking about. And you want to have kids at that wedding? If you're
like nonstop shots, people are passed out everywhere. Like maybe then don't bring the kids.
Yeah. And I won't say that word again.
Promise me, pinky promise. That is never coming out of your mouth again.
Definitely going to finish the show with it.
And the show's over. Okay, so that one was a tricky one. Okay, so I have one last question for you. What is your pro tip from this season?
Okay. It's funny because like we talked a lot this season about health and wellness.
Yeah, we did.
And I think that kind of like that theme just sort of popped up a bunch. And I think for me, like when I just take a step back and I think about the wedding day, you know, I think a lot of times it's about those instant fixes. It's like hair and makeup, right? Looking good right then and there. What can we do to look our best with our makeup artist? But like for me, I think I want to take a step back and just think through that kind of that whole, that you're a whole person. Are you ready for this big day? Is there things that if you're self-conscious about the way you look about these different things, are there things we can do about them beforehand? You know, a lot of times we talk about this, you have a year or 2 years to plan for your wedding. Incorporate your mental, physical, and emotional health into your planning for your wedding. Because like, I think that the weddings that I see, and again, the goal for you on your wedding day is to look and feel your best. And that's all we want for you. So I'm just going to end with that. That's sort of one of the big themes from this season for me.
Darn it, that's a great answer.
Okay, Tessa, your pro tip for season 5. What do you got?
Okay, so mine is not as profound as yours, but I think equally as valid. And it is, in this last season, when we're talking to vendors, when we talk to our couples, I think the one thing that we had in common with everybody, what everyone said is, don't wait to book the dream vendors. If there are certain vendors that you really connect with, don't wait it out. Don't price shop 10 other vendors if you're like, this is the one that I like. We've had couples who, again, have waited and missed out on their dream vendors or had to course correct and get their dream vendor. We've also had couples, and we talked with one of our couples who, again, had a rainy wedding, but worked with the vendors that they, from the very beginning, wanted and leaned on them and had their best day ever. So really, again, book those vendors. If you meet with someone that you absolutely love, don't wait. Get them booked, get them secured. It's going to make your wedding day that much better. All right, guys, with that, we will see you next season. Thank you for staying with us all this time. We are so thankful for all of you, our lovely Dreamboat listeners, and we will catch you in season 6. Bye.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening to another episode of Unveiling Paradise.
If you enjoy our show, please follow us and rate us on Spotify or wherever you listen to podcasts. It would really mean a lot.
And don't forget to also get on our mailing list and follow us on Instagram. Just do it already.
Until next time, this is Tessa.
And this is Joe.
And don't forget, your happily ever after
is just a plane ride away.